You've had Wendy's nugs dipped in sauce, but have you had them covered in sauce? Wendy's new saucy nugs take the crispy and spicy nugs you love and turn them up to 11. Choose between flavors like buffalo or honey barbecue, garlic parm, or if you're a real heat seeker out there, you can try spicy ghost pepper only on Wendy's signature spicy nugs. Listen, I'm going to dare you to do it. I dare you. That's 7 delicious ways to try the nugs that you already love. Pick a flavor, grab some extra napkins, and then grab a few more napkins and prepare to nug like you've never nugged before. For a whole new way to nug, it's got to be Wendy's at participating U.S. Wendy's.
What up, Cal fans? You are listening to the Golden Bear Cast, a proud partner of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. We are here post-NC State and the glorious game that the gracious gods gave us. Goodness, the alliteration, top-notch. Brilliant.
Top notch.
If I do say so myself. Andy, Rob, your two hosts. Are we kicking it off with J-Dubs?
No, we don't have to. I just have it loaded up here on the screen just so I can play it whenever we get to it. But I just wanted to have it set up for you.
Okay.
Okay,
thanks.
we can
All
talk
right,
through.
we'll wait for that.
Yeah.
All right, Cal NC State. Tale of two perspectives. We're going to go right into it. I'm just going to lead off with mine because it's really fast. And I think that this was tough. It was tough for me to go.
This game? Or like
just the environment.
Okay.
Just to come off the Miami game where I just felt like I was taking it in so much. And I was looking at the stands and the student section is 3 sections full.
You're in your feels.
Yeah, I mean, it was just amazing. Sellout. And then you come back and you get the UC Davis type crowd of like 32,000, and the student section I heard was more full in the first half, but was like really when I was, for the majority of the time that I was at the game, was like maybe a quarter full, and it was tough. Now it was really sunny, super hot on that side, so I will say the stadium in the donor side of the stadium was very, very full, then the opposite side was just so empty.
The asterisk to the student section also is that it was homecoming, so a lot of parents were in town. Like, and I don't know if they all went, because if you walked around campus, there was a lot of festivities happening.
Yes. I agree. I mean, the vibes were good, but I don't know, just didn't have it. The energy wasn't there. And I actually felt that both being at the game and watching the game, because I felt that same thing as they were doing the pan. I was like, oh man, there really isn't a lot of people here. But I do have a question for you, Rob.
Sure.
I have a thought as to why this could be the case, but why wasn't the cannon firing?
Well, that's a very good question. I didn't even notice that. That's a very good question.
So it was a red flag day. There was the fire.
Oh, that might be right.
The day before. So I didn't know if it was just
it's
red flag.
It might have been that, because from what I heard was a lot of the tailgates were not allowed to use like active fire, like real fire. Like if you brought like an induction, stove and stuff, I think you were fine. But I think for the most part, like they didn't want people using gas grills and things like that. So if that sounds right. That sounds like a reasonable reason why.
It's so funny because it was one of my biggest hesitations about bringing Eva to the game, was that this cannon would be firing off and she would just not have headphones on.
She'd be freaking out. Yeah.
And there was, I know we had scored a field goal when I was walking in, and I fully expected to go off, and just nothing happened.
That's probably what it is. That's a very good like observation. I did not notice that at all.
Because normally, you can hear that cannon firing well beyond the stadium.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
All
I didn't
right.
even think of that.
That's it. I mean, what was I feel like I have learned you had a very different game day. So what did you do?
Well, Nam and I, like, we just went and hung out at the media parking lot. We bought like lawn chairs, like, you know, those like pop-up chairs. We just hung out there for a few hours, and it was nice because, you know, there's that little walkway behind the media parking lot that like links Haste and Channing, and there's usually one tailgate there, but the entire other space was open, and it's an early game, so got there at like 9, just hung out till like 10:30, 11. It was just nice being out in the shade in that little hallway because it's between two buildings. It's lots of shade. Not a lot of people. Of course, not a lot of people ended up going to the game either. But yeah, it was just a nice, chill day to relax. Ultimately, because we had a lot more things to do than I expected it to. Because like Nam, because of the ticket deal that they were doing for the NC State game, which was like $20 a ticket with no fees, like he bought a whole bunch of tickets for his school and his students. So we had to go up early because he needed to go to Will Call to drop those tickets off and to like hand them out and like write names for like who this is for. And then also we got the opportunity to go upstairs to the Champions Suite and also the University Club. So we wanted to go up there before the game and get a nice little feel for that. And the guys stayed up there for most of the game, but I of course had to go back down to the field to take photo and video. So I was up there for pregame, maybe till about 30 minutes before kick, and then I went downstairs to get my stuff and head out on the field. But never been up there for a game before, so it was a cool experience. The Champion Suite is actually on the media floor. It's like the room that's next to the AD Suite. So like view wise, it's not that much different from what you and I used to watch, like from the press box. But the University Club is like, that's super cool. It's like the French doors are all open, like, because it's all glass and there's like seats and you can just kind of get up, turn around, and there's like food and drinks like all there for you. It's a very good, I could understand why you'd want to be up there. Like, it's just you don't get the same like crowd vibe and like that you're in the game, but you get you're high up, so you get the whole like all 22 look. You can see the plays develop, and then just the amenities are just top notch. So, but overall, absolutely great experience. I don't know if our subscriber John is listening, but John, thanks for the experience. It was really kind of him to invite a few of us up there.
Damn, look at you guys. I've never been up there.
Yeah,
still.
It's a vibe. It's a vibe for sure.
That's amazing. I love that. It was very vibey. I'm excited for the media tailgate. I mean, I will say that little corridor, there's always people there that are hanging out with chairs and kicking it. And let's bring a little hot dog cooker. Who knows? Yeah. It'll be a thing.
Yeah. It's highly
great traditions. It's highly underused. I agree. And it's actually great walking location too.
It is. Yeah. I was not sweating by the time I got up to the stadium with my 40 pounds of gear.
So I remember looking down and spotting you because you were wearing a sun or a cow hat or whatever, Australian Outback hat. I don't know what.
My cow bucket hat.
Yes, cow bucket hat. Yeah. You had a perfect view of the field goal. Perfect.
Of the first
miss.
One. Oh, the miss. Yeah. I actually so the miss, right? You would think I'd have a good view of it. You would think so. But if you're like on right behind the end zone, which is where you have to be, my like depth perception of if the ball went inside the upright or outside, like I can't tell.
Because you were left. If you're going based on what Morris is looking, you're left of
Yeah. So I'm on the Cal side of the goalpost.
Yeah.
And the ball shanked right. Yeah. So like I couldn't tell if it was inside, outside, whatever. I had to look back up on the big screen.
That's actually funny because that's the exact same, as you know, that's the view that I have from my seats. And the entire section celebrated as if it was good.
It looked good.
I only look at the referees.
Yeah.
I've seen enough now where I know I don't have the angle. So let me just look at the ref. And I turn around, I was like, nah, he missed it.
Yeah.
Whew. It was rough. Okay. Well, that sort of instant reaction. What in the world? When I actually want to read you this, we got asked in a work Slack on Friday, which was very nice from my colleague. Happy Friday. Thread something you're excited for this weekend. And I wrote, ready to get my heart broken at yet another Cal game.
That's what happened.
Did I do it to myself?
You kind of did. You might have set up the expectation to lose for yourself today on Saturday. I mean, people are going to be listening to Josh's thing afterwards, but just to spoil a little bit, like Josh did mention, we need to change the expectation and the standard of Cal football, and you went right in with the disappointing loss.
I mean, I said the same thing about this weekend. Diana asked me, she's like, what are our plans this weekend? Oh, I'm back to Cal game. She said, again?
Yeah, I'm back at it.
I was like, yep, I'm fully ready to lose again in another heartbreaking way.
Look, there's a few of us that'll remain there out of principle. Like, I don't think we're the ones to be like, I'm not supporting this team until, they fire X person or X person leaves. I think all of us, a few of us, you, myself, Nam, Avi, and a couple others, like, we love the program and what that stands for more than the people that are going to be filtered out through it at some point. And that's kind of what we're there to support more so than the current people that are standing there.
Yeah. I mean, I will say Eva's second Cal game ever was the NC State game. She did so well. It was so awesome to see. She's now, throwing her hands up when things go well. It's just so cool to see that. And
she like absorbs the energy that like she sees around her, and she like emulates it.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And it's not sort of the manic toddler energy of sprinting around yet.
Not
sure
yet.
That's coming.
Yeah.
But I, with approval from my wife, which may not come, would love to try and repeat it this Saturday. I thought it was great. And the nice thing about that is I can walk away from that crippling loss and still have something to hold on to and say, hey, and you know what I told her at that game? I've never said this before. After the pass that didn't make it to the first down and we lost, I turned to her and I said, you know what? You don't have to attend this university if you don't want to.
Did you add the caveat of, but you will be a fan?
No, absolutely not. I was like, I just had that moment where I felt so compelled to tell her, I've lived this life. And in a lot of ways, Josh has lived this life too. His parents both went to Cal. So I think that we've all lived this life. And for some of us, it was chosen.
I mean, Trace has lived that life 7 times over at this point.
Trace has lived that life to when the university was founded.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's the Big Bang for Cal football.
Exactly. And so it dawned on me that, you know what? This can be Dad's thing. And you can support Dad in that. But it doesn't mean that you have to live and die with it. Because let me tell you, this is a pained life. This is a pained life. And the conversation that I had with Walker, Cal grad, also Dad, was, is it in our heads that we lose in the hardest ways possible? Or is it reality? And I think this year, it's definitely Cal is taking the cake on that. SC is having a pretty competitive season with us. It's kind of great.
It's them and UCLA faltering so badly is one of the highlights of college football season so far. Once again, there's always worse.
There's always worse, but I'm ready. If Lincoln Riley gets handed his papers,
oh my God,
bring him in. Okay, well, I think that my instant reaction was sort of like, hey, this is the end of the era. This is it. I called you and you didn't want to hear it, but for me, I'm just tired. I
mean, that's not just you, right? That's like, I think, I don't want to put a number on it, but I would, arbitrarily say like 90% of the average fan base is over this. Like, they want to see something new.
But I don't really want to see something all that different. I just don't. What I don't understand is, and Josh alluded to this, and just for everybody that's listening, is like, what the hell? They keep mentioning Josh. We got a new segment coming up. It's called Friend of the Pod. It's going to be segment 2, so you'll get there, and
we just have to record it first.
Yes, exactly. So when we're talking through everything that's gone on with this program, and like he kept mentioning like the 3rd and 20, and in this game was no different than that, because I think he's referencing like the 3rd and goal from the 18 with Miami when he says that, or it's possible he's referencing the 3rd and 17 that happened in this game. It just is ridiculous how easy it is for me to pull examples where these things come up. But for me, during the game and seeing it live, it was very obvious to me the play that changed the tide of the outcome of the game. And it was the 3rd and 11 from the 11, or like 3rd and 12 from the 12, right? And for NC State, when they were going down to try and score their first touchdown after being down 13 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And we have like David Reese comes off the edge, has him. He escapes. What's his name? Bailey. Bailey escapes.
Bailey escapes.
And then he comes out on the outside, and I can't remember who it is. If it was Falls, if it was someone else, but they have a chance to wrap him up. He escapes, throws a 10-yard pass to a diving receiver on the ground, and then the next play they score a touchdown. It's those plays over and over and over again where we are simply just in a small bit of execution away from finishing that opponent and the game being over, that we seemingly cannot do. And I don't understand. And now we can also go to Wilcox, because like, I don't think he understands.
Yeah. So this is Wilcox.
Why that keeps happening.
So this is Wilcox after the game. And the question actually that Andy picked out was by our Right for California's very own Thomas Dunn. So here we go.
Justin, you were consistent in your frustration about the one-score game stat last week. You mentioned there's no margins for bad football. In your estimation today, where were the gains not made when the going got tough?
We had 7 penalties, 4 of those on false starts. We have tried everything. We're going to continue to try, because we have to be able to start the play without going backwards. We had a lot of missed opportunities. I mean, it sounds like a broken record. Everybody's tired of hearing it. I'm tired of saying it. I understand it's a great question. I'm not saying it's not, but I mean, the number of plays that we have to make, and you can't, like, I mean, I can think of a bunch of them right now. I mean, again, getting in the red zone and not scoring touchdowns is a big deal. Got to score touchdowns. There was a play on defense, I think 3rd and 11 or 3rd and 12, that we had knocked them back down at the goal line there. And we had them sacked nearly, and the guy got away from one, got away from another, threw it to the 1-yard line. They scored the next play. That's a 4-point play. 4-point play. There's one. Obviously, the missed peel. The 50-50 balls, sometimes their guys make good plays. The quarterback could really throw, and he was very athletic. They had some big matchups in there. So I think those are, you chalk that up to they earned the play. But there's enough in there where you have to just not a lot of margin for making those errors. And I don't know that there's ever a perfect football game. I have not been a part of one, but we just have to make fewer than we're making. And the guys that are playing have to play better, the next week than they did this week. So, and it's up to me and our coaching staff. We have to help them solve it. That's our job.
What more needs to be said?
I mean, what is so interesting about that is he's like, he actually breaks his thought. And that's why that one really stood out to me, is that he's in the middle of giving the usual answer and going back and talking about the fundamentals and practicing this or doing that and execution or whatever it is. And he's like, he actually just stops and says, I'm tired of saying this. Y'all are tired of hearing it. You think that, like, I'm sure, I'm like a broken record up here. Something has to change. And sort of he looks inward and points to himself and says, at the end of the day, it's all on me. But I think there's some other things that he's hinting at there, especially I totally agree. I mean, we'll just dive into some of the things that he's talking about, like getting touchdowns.
Yeah.
And the penalties are still, remember when we talked about, okay, if the offensive line penalties are still happening in October, then, this is a big concern. I've had a lot of thoughts on this. I think that, like, one, and I hate to be the one that said it, and I will say I saw it written, but in rewatching this game and watching it live and then going home and rewatching it, I think that there's just, I mean, I pointed out the play to you, Rob. Like, there was a play to Endries where we, is it Endries?
Well, it was a screen to Endries, so Endries caught the pass.
Yeah,
I don't know who was blocking.
It was the tunnel screen.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, it's 3 O linemen. It's like, and we don't have to call them out by name, but we have Endries on a perfectly executed tunnel screen. We have 3 O linemen downfield to block one defender, and we have one of our receivers blocking their cornerback to the outside. If our 3 O linemen, one of them is on the right. So let's say there's 2 to the right, 1 to the left. One to the right is looking right. Fine. He'll take care of the right side in case somebody comes. There isn't anybody there, but I'm fine if that's his assignment. But the other 2 have to block the one guy. I mean, what do? They miss. One of them misses completely. Completely misses. The other one doesn't pick him up. And he goes and makes a shoestrings tackle and a play that is 12 yards that could have been a touchdown. Like, could have been 45 yards. And then on some of the run decisions, whether it be personnel decisions, like when we kept going back to JV and Thomas in the second half, despite the fact that I think Byron Cardwell was running better, was puzzling to me. A lot of our decisions in running the ball situationally when we're having zero success, I get it. You gotta keep the offense honest to some degree, but that doesn't mean that we can't be slightly more creative in how we're running the ball, whether it's trying to get somebody to the outside. We've talked about we just run to the inside a lot. It doesn't really work very, very well. I think that Blesh just isn't seeing the game well. He's not, and so I don't know if it's, hey, like being in the box like Musgrave would help with just the aerial view of how the defense is playing. But to me, it was pretty clear as the game wore on, like where there were opportunities to get NC State, and we kind of went away from them. And that just struck me as very odd. I don't know if you felt the same. Look, I'm not trying to call the same way that this was a huge deal for the Niners last season. I'm really not trying to blow that up, but I do think that I had that thought because I'm like, how is it that I can watch this game on film and see these things, and in real time we aren't taking advantage of this?
I mean, you make good points. I mean, the one play that stood out to me, and this was me seeing it on the field, not even me watching it back like later, but like that first 4th and 5 that we go for it. It looks like an RPO. Caldwell standing to the right of Nando. I vividly remember this. Shotgun. You got trips left. You got a single wide receiver on the team side. Nando snaps, fakes the read option, throws it straight to Josiah Martin, and he gets tackled immediately as soon as he catches the pass.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know why he did that, because the one thing I learned from our dear friend Jesse is quarterback is pretty easy if you learn how to count. And rewatch that play, it's the trips on the far left with 3 guys lined up in front of them with an outside linebacker peeking into that. So that's 4-on-3 with 2 guys that are going to be the blockers and 1 guy that's going to be the screener. So they don't know that, but from our perspective, because Nando knows the play, he knows that's a screen on that side, right? So just purely from a number standpoint, you're in a losing battle because only 2 out of those 4 will be blocked, and 1 of the corners will be unblocked. 1-on-1 on this side, when I was watching the play in real time, I was like, I don't know why he just didn't hand off the ball because the box was so light. I think it was a 5-man box. Mm-hmm. So why do you not hand the ball off there? It's simple numbers, but when you rewatch the play, it's intentional. There is no read. It's a straight up fake the read option and throw the wide receiver screen. But there's no. So I'm wondering, like, does Nando not have a checkout? Like, does he not have an alert play where he reads the numbers and is like, that's not going to work? Yeah, divert. Maybe he doesn't have that. But like that was like one of the more bizarre like moments for me. Where I'm like, it's just straight up numbers and it's not going to work. And it didn't. So there's like, I mean, looks like your point about like how the game went and like, you know, the same style that we lose and the same things. Like, I much like Wilcox, like I just don't have any answers anymore. And like, there's no one guy that's going to come in and fix this. But the one part that I do like, so, okay, let me take a step back.
Take a breath.
Much like, you know, I was talking to Avi and Nam about this. The way the season began, right? It was we were taking gambles in certain locations. And we had to take gambles in certain locations. Whether it was certain positions, whether it was a certain type of offense, whatever it was, we had to take some gambles at some spots. In terms of, if you look at it from like a board game or D&D type of situation, we had a D20. All we needed to do was roll like a 5 or higher in a few of those spots. But it seems like consistently this season, whether it be by luck or by design or just, you know, miscommunicate or a miscalculation, we're rolling a 1 every single time in every single spot. And it's just like, is this just divine? Like the odds are stacked against us and we just can't seem to roll anything higher to get us out of it. Like offensive linemen, right? That we brought in to help shore up this offensive line. You could argue none of them have really hit, right? In terms of production. Our 2 top wide receivers that we brought in have not seen the field so far this season. And that's, you know, none of no fault of their own. Like it's just due to injury. But like, you know, that's another, like we rolled the dice on them and then injury bug hit. So it's like they can't play. And those are the 2 guys that probably would have given the most verticality on this offense and taken the top off too. So those guys are down. None of the transfer running backs have really hit and been productive for us. Except for Cardwell, who's kind of coming into his own right now, but he hasn't played football in 2 years, like with us.
It took a while.
Yeah. And then you look at you know, the defense, and then you look at defensive backs. Like Yates being out early on in the season, Wagner being out still, Little John's being out still. It's hampered our ability to rotate guys to keep them fresh, especially knowing that the time of possession is heavily against us in a lot of these games this season. And we just don't have the legs on the back end to do that. We're basically having to play Noel and Marcus like the entire game. And then, you know, Lou Hearns' like decline hasn't helped that rotation at all as well. And then inside linebacker, like after Teddy and Cade, it's like there's a significant drop off there. And like Liam Johnson, who got the fumble recovery, which I think was awesome. I just started playing football again, like after being out for so many weeks. Like I think like last week was his first game back. So that like has hampered just the rotation heading into it. So the snap count is higher for those 2 guys ahead of him. Like defensive line, like Ryan McCullough being, you know, hurt has thrown a wrench into that rotation. David Reese, not looking as good as he was towards the end of last season, has thrown a wrench into that rotation and production. Like, every single spot that we were like, okay, roll the dice one more time, just get us above a 5 and we'll be fine. And it hasn't rolled for us. And like, that's the most frustrating part about all of this is like, how did we not have any of it hit? And like, of course the naysayers are going to be like, well, it was doomed from the start. They picked the wrong guys or they picked the wrong staff and so on. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, from that angle in hindsight, yeah, I could see that. But like, I don't think any of us really, if you took a rational step and look at it, are upset with the process. Like, even with the hiring of Blesh, it was like, we wanted the continuity. We knew what he could do with offensive lines. We didn't want to bring in another offensive coordinator to like install a brand new style of offense and maybe having to reset that entire side of the staff. And we were okay with that. And it just hasn't panned out. So that's where my frustrations lie, is like, how are we this unlucky that not a single thing that we like potentially gambled on to help like boost our season, like helping us this year?
I mean, I think with the Blesh stuff, I think I just go back and I just think I should have been more skeptical. I'm surprised that I wasn't.
But I mean, because all of us wanted continuity.
But I don't know. It wasn't that. It was that I mean, of course that played a role. But I think that what was sold to me was that a lot of the offense last season was more Blesh than Spav.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
So my point is, we saw this offense last year get to the 30 mark more consistently. In my mind, that's the way I remember it, than we had in years past. We associated it more with Blesh than with Spav. We said we could lose Spav because, right? I'm not going to go into that. And it just doesn't seem like that's the case. Like, it seems like we've reverted back to
I mean,
less explosiveness, less creativity,
more explosive.
vanilla.
Technically more explosive. By statistically, we're more
Yes,
explosive.
That's fair.
Yeah. We're just not able to sustain. But like, I think big picture, I think your point makes sense. But then you dive into the specifics and you're like, well, Barrett Miller, who we brought in from Stanford, right, to play left tackle, was a way big upgrade at left tackle heading into last year. And then we knew if we were going to start Nick Morrow, that was going to be some growing pains at that spot, which is why we brought in some other guys to help maybe shore up that left guard spot to help him out. But the guys that should have held that and, aggregated out like average have actually been playing below par at left guard, which makes left tackle look even worse because it's a guy that's trying to grow into the position. And then, and then there's the added fact of Jaden having not played more than 2 games this year, like really healthy, which was, I think, the Miami game and the Davis game. And then I think the wide receivers just like, we don't have a guy like Jeremiah on the outside, and it was supposed to be Tobias and Keon, but they just haven't played this year. So guys are, being thrown in there to play. So yeah, it's like you go into the specifics and you can see the reasons why it doesn't look the same as last year. So I don't know if I can blame that purely on, Blesh becoming the OC. But it's unlucky and unfortunate. Like, there's no other team in the country that has probably lost 4 games this season with a point differential of -9.
In fact, there's not.
Yeah, exactly.
It's Cal's in the number one position, followed by USC, and then I think it's Virginia Tech.
Yeah. So it's just like, it's like you scream at the world and you're like, why us? And then you look down and you're like, well, yeah, it makes sense that it's us.